Normally code looks something like this. You have variables, functions, conditions, and at least a small chance of understanding what is actually happening. But at some point, a few programmers decided that this was not enough. So they created languages where a program can look like theatrical play, a maze made of arrows, a colorful image, a completely empty file. And finally, a nervous breakdown written with plus signs, minus sign, and square brackets. Today, I'm going to write the exact same calculator in 5 real esoteric programming languages. Each version has to ask for 2 numbers: accept an operation, perform addition, subtraction, or multiplication, and print the result. To keep this project from turning into a live sentence, I had to limit the scope a little. Each operand is a single digit from 0 to 9. The calculator only supports addition, subtraction, and multiplication. No division, no decimals, and no parentheses. It performs one operation and then exits. But it still has to correctly print multi-digit results, negative numbers, and an error message for an unknown operator. The languages are ordered by increasing levels of insanity, and we are starting with the Shakespeare programming language. The first language turns source code into a theatrical play, and this is not just unusual formatting. The characters actually work as variables. Acts and scenes are used to structure the program and control its flow, and commas are written as lines of dialogue. In other words, instead of writing something normal like the first number plus the second number, I have to organize a small drama between Romeo, Juliet, Hamlet, and several other people who clearly never expected to end up inside a calculator. I assigned everyone a role. Romeo stores the first number, Juliet stores the selected operation, Hamlet stores the second number, Ophelia stores the result, and Mercutio does most of the actual work. Because just like in a real project, one person eventually ends up doing absolutely everything. To read a character, one character says, "Open your mind." To print a character, "Speak your mind." And to print a number, "Open your heart." Though the dialogue ends up sounding something like this: "Open your mind. Now you are the difference between yourself and a noble hero. Open your heart." And somewhere between those lines, the computer calculates 42. At this point, it sounds less like programming and more like group therapy. For Shakespeare, I installed a ready-made interpreter called Shakespeare Lang, and the first problem appeared before I had even written the first play. Windows simply could not find the command. After manually adding the Python scripts folder to path, the command finally started working. The digits arrive as ASCII codes. So when the user enters 7, the program does not receive the number 7. It receives the code 55. The player subtracts 48 by itself to recover the actual operand. The Juliet is compared against the ASCII codes for plus, minus, and the asterisk. If the user selects plus, the characters move to the addition scene. If it is minus, they move to the subtraction scene. If it is an asterisk, they move to the multiplication scene. And if the user enters anything else, the most realistic scene is the entire play begins, the forbidden symbol. In the end, this literally disaster actually works. Romeo receives 7, Juliet stores the code for the asterisk, Hamlet receives 6, Ophelia becomes 42, and Mercutio opens her heart. At this point, I already had a working calculator, but the code was still at least somewhat readable. So it was time to move on to a language that decided source code should look less like text and more like a subway map. Befunge 93 does not execute commands only from left to right. The instruction pointer can move right, left, up and down. Arrows change its direction. It can move through the code in a zigzag pattern, and pass through completely different parts of the program. Normal code at least tries to look like a set of instructions. Befunge looks like a level from an old arcade game. I started with a tiny program. It calculates the ASCII code 65, turns the instruction pointer downward, and prints the letter A. Even printing a single letter already requires execution to physically move on to the next line. But the calculator needs input, storage for the free values, operator checks, and several separate branches. A very stable architecture. Probably. The first version always printed invalid operation. It turned out that the interpreter did not like the coordinates I had chosen for storing the data. After moving them, the operator was finally detected correctly. But the results became even more interesting. 7 times 6 became 62. 7 plus 5 became 37, and 3 minus 8 became 24. So the program was no longer making mistakes, it has simply invented its own branch of mathematics. After another rewrite, the interpreter reported, program code is too large. Befunge 93 limits the playfield to 80 columns by 25 rows, and one of my lines had quietly exceeded that limit. After fixing the coordinates, line endings, and input handling, the playfield finally worked. The instruction pointer moves through the header, it snakes downward through the input prompts, stores the value directly inside the playfield, checks the operator, and then physically moves into one of 3 arithmetic branches. On screen, it looks like someone built a calculator inside a maze, but the next language abandoned text entirely. Piet is a language where the source code is an image, not an image with text hidden inside it. The image itself is the code. The interpreter moves between colored blocks. Each command is determined by a change in hue and brightness. The size of a block can be used as a number. A transition from red to another shade might mean push. A different color transition can mean addition, multiplication, input, or out. I have no idea who came up with this, but I suspect ordinary compiler errors were no longer causing this person enough pain. First, I installed an existing Piet interpreter. It immediately crashed because my Python installation did not include tkinter. I already had another version of Python with a working tkinter, so I installed the interpreter there instead. Then it upgraded NumPy and created a conflict with OpenCV, so I had to create a separate virtual environment just for Piet. The terminal mode finally started working, but the graphical debugger crashed because the developer had forgotten to include the UI file in the published package. I downloaded the missing file manually. After that, the UI finally opened. So before I had even created the program, Piet had already forced me to manage multiple Python installations, a separate environment, a library conflict, and the missing interface file. All of that for an image that only needed to multiply 7 by 6. I started with a tiny program that prints the letter A. The first block has a size of 65. The transition performs a push, placing the number 65 onto the stack. The next transition outputs it as a character, and the letter A appears. But you cannot simply scale up the source image. If I stretch it by a factor of 10, a block with a size of 65 becomes a block with a size of 6500, and the program starts printing a completely different character. So I ended up with 2 files. The original page that is actually executed, and an enlarged preview that can at least be viewed without a microscope. Next, I tested operator input and a 2-dimensional branch for plus, minus, and the asterisk. The program produces a flag with the value 1. The pointer command turns the execution direction downward and sends it into the valid branch. For any other character, the flag is 0. The direction stays the same, and execution continues to the right into invalid. In the graphical debugger, you can literally watch the instruction pointer travel through the image. For a moment, it almost looks beautiful, until you remember that this is a calculator. The final image prints the interface, reads 3 values, and calculates all 3 possible expressions at once. The addition flag is multiplied by the sum, the subtraction flag is multiplied by the difference, and the multiplication flag is multiplied by the product. Only the correct flag has a value of 1. The others reduce their results to 0. After that, one more color transition chooses between the actual results and the invalid operation. I just built a calculator out of colored rectangles, and the most disturbing part is that it actually works. But at least Piet is visible, the next language looks as if the file does not exist at all. Whitespace uses only 3 characters: spaces, tabs, and line breaks. Every other character is ignored, so under normal conditions, the source code looks completely empty. Here is the file. It contains a fully working calculator, and with the invisible characters turned off, proving that it's almost impossible. The main enemy here was not even the language, it was VS Code. I typed several spaces and pressed tab, and the editor helpfully replaced everything with a single indentation. I moved to a new line, and VS Code automatically copied the previous whitespace onto it. In a normal project that is useful. In Whitespace, it is literally rewriting the source code without permission. So I had to disable automatic annotation, formatting, trailing Whitespace cleanup, tab conversion, and several other features that normally save programmers from themselves. Then I had to remap the tab key separately, so it would insert an actual tab character instead of trying to neatly align the emptiness. The first interpreter I chose also turned out to be a problem. On Windows, the Whitespace CLI command did not run at all. It simply opened the Python file instead. After launching it explicitly through Python, I discovered that its character input implementation was not well suited for comparing operator ASCII codes. So I replaced it with VSC, an existing interpreter that properly implements the Whitespace standard. And after that, the manual assembly began. To push a number onto the stack, you have to enter a specific sequence of spaces and tabs. To print a character, you need a different one. To create a label, another one. And to jump to the label, yet another one. If you accidentally add a single space somewhere, the program does not necessarily give you a clear error. It may simply start interpreting every comment after that point differently. This is a language where a bug literally looks like nothing. Step by step, I added the title, the input prompts, digit input, value storage and the heap, operator comparisons, and free arithmetic branches. Every letter in Curse calculator is encoded as a number written entirely with spaces and tabs. The calculator's title alone already takes hundreds of invisible characters. But the final file really contains nothing except bytes 9, 10, and 32. Tab, line, feed, space, no letters, no numbers, no comments, and yet when executed, it asks for the values and prints, result 42. This might be the first program you can accidentally delete just by enabling Jim trailing Whitespace. But there is still one final language left, Brainfuck. Brainfuck uses only 8 commands. A right angle bracket, a left angle bracket, a plus sign, a minus sign, a period, a comma, and 2 square brackets. At first, 8 commas might make the language sound simple, but that is like saying a piano is simple because it only has 12 different notes. Brainfuck has a tape of memory cells. A pointer moves between them, plus and minus modify the current cell, a period prints the characters, a comma reads the input, and the square brackets create loops. That is all you get. No variables, no if statements, no multiplication, and no normal way to print a number. First, I wrote the calculator in the purest possible form. One enormous line, thousands of commas, no labels and no sections. This is what Brainfuck looks like without any kind of organization. Somewhere in here it prints the title, somewhere it reads the first number, somewhere it checks the operator, and somewhere I probably lost the will to live. During the first test, the program asked for the first number. It accepted the operator, then it skipped the second number entirely and immediately printed invalid operation. The problem was caused by Windows line endings. Finding the exact location inside one giant line was practically impossible, so I did not make the language any easier. I simply split the same Brainfuck code into sections and labeled the purpose of each memory cell. The interpreter still ignores all non-common text and executes only the A standard Brainfuck symbols. Now one memory cell stores the first number, another stores the ASCII code of the operator, a third stores the second number. Separate cells are used for the result, the negative sign flag, operation flags, and temporary copies. To print the correct result, the program has to compare the operands by itself, determine the sign, calculate the absolute value, and print the minus sign separately. And then there is one more problem. The period command outputs a character using its ASCII code. It cannot simply print the number 42. If a cell contains 42 and you execute a period, it prints an asterisk. So the program has to split the result into tens and ones manually. It repeatedly subtracts 10, counts how many tens it found, adds 48 to each digit, and only then prints the character 4 and 2. So just to display a normal line like result 42, Brainfuck had to re-implement some of the basic functionality that normal programming languages have provided for decades. After fixing the Sierra left handling, the program finally waits for the second number. It recognizes the asterisk, multiplies 7 by 6, splits the result into tens and ones, and prints result 42. Negative subtraction works too. 0 works, invalid operator works. This is the longest and most painful calculator in the entire project, and the interpreter still understands only 8 symbols. If I had to rate the pain on a scale from 1 to 10, Shakespeare gets a 5, strange, extremely verbose, but sometimes genuinely entertaining. Befunge gets a 7. The two-dimensional movement looks cool until a single misplaced space sends the instruction pointer into the void. Piet gets an 8. Beautiful, unusual, and completely impractical. Whitespace gets a 9. Almost any editor setting can turn into an act of sabotage. And the Brainfuck gets a 10. Not because the individual commas are difficult to understand, but because those 8 basic commas have to be used to manually build everything that other languages give you for free. But now for the main question, which of these 5 languages would you choose for a real project? Personally, I am choosing a 6th option. Let me know in the comments what you think about these languages. Which one looks the most interesting? Which one is the most cursed? And which one would you agree to use for a real project if your life depends on it? If you enjoy strange programming experiments like this, leave a like and subscribe. That way I will at least know that several hours of fighting invisible code and colored rectangles were not completely wasted. I will also leave the complete project on Patreon, including all 5 calculators, the source files, the link is in the description. See you in the next experiment.